Hi, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another amazing Through the Bible episode. Uh, a lot of people out there, you might wonder, you might think, what is Christianity? What is being a believer? What is, because in life, things aren't always fair, things aren't always good, things aren't always right. You see Christians behaving one way, you see them behaving another way, you see televangelists, you see cults like Scientology, you see Jehovah's Witnesses, you see all these cults and false things and all that. And really, who better than, let's say, if I want to learn about Albert Einstein and what he really thinks about life, then I should probably read his memoirs. I should read his speeches. I'll know that he opposed the war and he had mathematical theories that he had to later prove through solar eclipses and time space continuums and energy equals matter squared, right? But how would I really know about him? I could read, if he gave a speech, I could read what it was and what it said. And basically, you've got Christianity, modern day Christianity. People drive. For me, it was going to Dresserville Baptist Church when I was a little kid and hearing about God and going to Sunday school and praying and having an awesome time praying and learning all these great things. And for you in modern day Christianity, you might go to like a Switchfoot concert or a church with a lot of lights and show and the preacher preaches and you get a great message, or it could be an old wooden pew church. Or it could be a Catholic church with huge pillars and very repetitious teachings. But I'm not going to get into all that. My whole goal of this is, if you want to know someone, and I have a bachelor's in history, associates in sociology or social science, and what they say is a first-person source is someone who was there while the event happened and they recorded it. Here we have Mathew, a tax collector who walked with Jesus, and he recorded what Jesus said. He wrote it down. So here we can actually see who Jesus is. What are his teachings? What does he think? So I encourage you to go to, it starts in Matthew chapter 5, all the way up through, and it's a speech Jesus gave on a mountain. And it talks about so many things: marriage, adultery, love, hate, praying, giving, being in debt, not being in debt, worrying, life. And he says it all much better than I do. I'm reading today from the Voice version, which is kind of a poetry, easy to read version. I got the new King James, I got the King James, I've got all of these. And I guess while I'm on that topic, I could talk to you for a second about versions. People say, I can't believe in the Bible there's too many versions. I don't know. Well, you can't keep a good record. Well, they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls, there were the book of Isaiah. And it was kept immaculately and perfectly in a jar, pretty much. They unrolled it. It's kind of the middle book in the Bible. And it said exactly what it says in the book of Isaiah, the book that we have. Now, what we've done is we've translated it from, this was written most likely in Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic, most likely in Greek. Matthew wrote it in Greek. And then we translated it later into English. You can learn Greek and go back and read that original text, or learn Aramaic. And Jesus could have spoken in Aramaic. He could have spoken in Hebrew. That we really don't know. But you can't get wrapped up in all that. If you believe it, you believe it. Read it. Study it. I found it to be true. I found it to be a good guide. It's been historically accurate. Grammar, I mean, it's one of the best books ever written. You can dissect it, go into it. Probably one of the number one books ever written. And people believe that there's more to it than just a book. Now, of course, we have Jesus speaking and Matthew's writing down what he said. But as you go through it, you can see that, hey, there's the Spirit of God. Now's where it gets kind of into faith. And there's the Spirit of God moving on these people and inspiring them to speak. And that's what we call prophecy. Now, sometimes it's just historical fact. Abraham went from A to B. This child was born to this person, or these people worship this God and these people worship that God, and God was angry with his people because they forgot him and left him. And it's not as complicated as people look, but I don't know what your reading level is out there of the Bible. That's why I do these messages when I'm dead and gone. We're all going to die. My kids can look at this and get some encouragement, some learning. Now, I have a bachelor's in history. I need to also be studying my history to pass a teacher's exam so I can teach history in a public school. So I have a knack for studying and then teaching it to people. And I might not get 1,000,000 views. That's never the point. The point is if you know something and it excites you and you want to transfer it to someone else, do it. Do it. I mean, I've taught in churches. I've taught in home Bible study groups. I had Bible studies when I was in the military on a deployment. So when you get something and it excites you and you're interested about it, you want to share it. So, I mean, I may eventually do videos about current events and public affairs, or maybe even some history lessons to help other people pass the gates or whatever there. But I mean, when I die and I'm gone and my sons watch videos of me on YouTube, it'd be cool if they could, I mean, they see all the pictures we take and everything in our life. It'd be cool if they could see some of this and get a little snippet of this. I mean, I could do a man cave corner too, where I show them how to change their oil. Show them how to start a chainsaw, or sharpen a chainsaw, or how to build a tree fort. All those things are important too, and this is important too. But now here's one more little tangent. This whole purpose of reading this book is not the transference of knowledge. It's not just, I mean, and I do that in history. You read something, you get to memorize a fact, and you regurgitate it to pass the test. But why do we really study history? So we don't repeat those mistakes of the past. So we can learn. Why do people study the history of technology? So they can learn a better technology and improve their lives. Why do they study certain food groups? Wow, we ate this food and everybody died of famine. Wow, we planted this one and everybody lived. So knowledge without application is worthless. In the Bible it says, you show me, you say you believe in God. Well, you know what? Even the demons, they believe and they tremble, but they're not saved. So simply a knowledge of something doesn't help you. It's the application of that knowledge. I can read a book about how to change a tire, but if I never go and change a tire, I've never really done it. So the whole point of this is action. Like Christ was a person of action. He was feeding the homeless, raising the dead, preaching sermons, doing all that. He did his life as a teacher. He transferred knowledge, but he also lived that knowledge. So whatever knowledge we get, it's basically for a better spiritual life, because you're a triune being. You have your physical body you got to take care of, your mind you got to take care of, then you got your heart and your soul. So we do things, we eat physical food to take care of our bodies. We study knowledge in our mind, and also we study the Bible because we believe we're spiritual, and we want something to connect our spirit to God, who is a spirit. And once you get these premises down and you get this stuff down, it just causes you to have a better life. So that's my introduction into the book of Matthew, chapter 6, and hopefully it gives you a little bit of hindsight into why I'm doing these messages, why you should study it. And number one, it goes back to, you can watch the History Channel on Jesus, who he was. And man, they'll do some weird stuff. They'll have these people with PhDs saying far out things. Far out. There's lies saying he married, he had a child with a woman, and they had a son, and far out, creepy, weird stuff. So let's go with the historical stuff about Christ in the Bible. And now there are a couple history books. I think his name was, I need to remember his name. Wow, it's really tough. His name was Josephus? I think it was Josephus. May have been Josephus, maybe in someone else. But he wrote historically that time, and he wrote that Pontius Pilate judged Jesus, sentenced to death. He was a historian during that age, and he wrote some historical facts about the life of Jesus, being born, going through a trial, dying, all those different things. You know, his followers saying he rose from the dead. 5,000 people saw him. But anyways, let's get into his teachings, because like I said about Albert Einstein or any historical figure, you want to know what George Washington was like? Read a biography of him, or listen to a speech he gave, you know. And it's going to give you a little bit insight into him. Now let's read about Jesus. Matthew chapter 6, verse 1. And what this is I'm kind of jumping into the middle of his speech. It says in the beginning in 5:1, now when he saw the crowds, he went up to a mountain, as Moses had done before him, and he sat down, as Jewish teachers of the day usually did. His disciples gathered around him, and he began to teach them. Now I'm jumping all the way ahead to chapter 6, and I can go back to verse 5 eventually, but we'll start at 6. I'm almost tempted to do chapter 5 and then just come back up to, yeah, for the sake of continuity, let's start at chapter 5, verse 1. So he began to teach them, blessed are the spiritually poor. And I want to tell you, I'm reading from the Voice version, which is just a very easy to read modern English version. You always got the King James, New King James. It really doesn't matter as long as it holds true to the original text. I even have one Bible, it's the Hebrew Greek Key Study Bible, which gives you the original words. And if you really want to dig deep, get yourself a Strong's Concordance. See, I got one sitting here somewhere. Yeah, right here. And that'll give you the original Hebrew word they used or Greek word they used in that sentence. It's pretty amazing. It's called a Strong's Concordance. All right, here we go. Blessed are the spiritually poor. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. Blessed are those who mourn. They'll be comforted. Blessed are the meek and gentle. They will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. They'll be filled. Blessed are the merciful. They'll be shown mercy. Blessed are those who are pure in heart. They will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers. They'll be called the children of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. And blessed are you. Blessed are all of you when people persecute or denigrate you or despise you or tell lies about you on my account. But when this happens, rejoice, be glad. Remember that God's prophets have been persecuted in the past, and know that in heaven you have a great reward. So we just went through a lot of things. But he said, blessed are the spiritually poor, the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Blessed are those who mourn, they'll be comforted. Blessed are the gentle. So he goes through all these things. Blessed are the peacemakers. And then he gets down to blessed are you if you're a Christian and people pick on you for being a Christian. He knew his followers would be persecuted. All right, now their little note says, salt draws out the good flavors subtly hidden in food and preserves what would otherwise spoil, as do those who claim to be children of God. You, beloved, are the salt of the earth. But if salt becomes bland or loses its saltiness, can anything make it salty again? No. It's useless. It's tossed out, thrown away, or trampled. You have the modern English word salary. That comes from the word sal, or salt. Roman soldiers were paid in pounds of salt. Salt was so important because they didn't have refrigerators, but if you put salt on your meat, it would stay fresh. And it flavored the food. And, you got sea salt, and you got salt with iodine, which is a mineral your mind and your body needs. It physically needs salt. Salt does a lot of things. And Jesus said, you're the salt of the earth. You're what's good. If you look on the news today, everything's gone crazy. The moral compass is out of whack. What's right? What's wrong? Well, you just tell me what's right and what's wrong, and you pick it. No, murder's always wrong. Adultery's always wrong. Gays sleeping together, sorry, it's always wrong. Stealing's always wrong. Lying's always wrong. Are any of us perfect? No, but we live in a society where the compass is getting really blurred. Killing a baby in a womb, always wrong. So if you're a Christian, you got to do what's right. Be gentle, be meek, love your neighbor as yourself, be merciful, and you'll be shown mercy. Be pure in heart, be a peacemaker, be persecuted for God. He said, you're the salt of the earth. But if you become bland, it's good for nothing and tossed out under the foot of men. So he's saying to his disciples, you're going to be the compass, the moral compass for society. You're going to be what keeps it good. I mean, God looked at Sodom and Gomorrah and he said, I got to destroy this place. Abraham's like, don't do it, because he knew Lot lived there. And God's like, all right, if I find one righteous person in that city, well, Abraham said, what if you find 50? God's like, okay, if I find 50 righteous people there, I will not destroy it. I won't do it. And Abraham's like, all right, God, if you find 25, God said, if I find 25, I'll spare it. All right, what about 10? What about 10? And it goes all the way down. We have to look up the verse to find it. But God went there and he looked at what was going on. The guys sleeping with guys, the lewdness of the flesh, everything getting out of whack. He's like, I gotta take this place out. I have to destroy it. Okay. These are sad facts. And when you look at our society today, you see a mental derision and blindness of right and wrong. Am I perfect? No way. I am a sinner, saved by grace. Just because I read the Bible and teach it doesn't mean I'm good, I'm perfect at all. Everybody has flaws, and that's the kind of thing with TV evangelists and ministers. I mean, they say, if anybody publicly names the name of Christ, let him depart from iniquity. But you have to try to be that moral compass. And Christ goes on talking about that. You got to be something in society that makes it good. The founding fathers, I quote this, I studied history, they said, I was getting cool quotes from founding fathers. One of them said, if we create a society with this many freedoms, we should put a church in every town square so these people have a good moral compass to do what's right and what's wrong. We don't live in a society where there's an armed guard commanding you where to live, what to eat, what to do, what to think, what to watch, what to wear, what religion to follow. It's total 100% freedom. You could have any religion or no religion. You could pray to God, not pray to God. But the founding fathers are like, wait a minute, if we give that many freedoms, some people are going to go crazy. So, of course, we have to be a nation of laws. No one's above the laws. Solomon wrote about that. If, where the wise rule, country has peace, but because iniquity overflows, you have to have many rulers and leaders to keep it straight. Let's get back into track with this. 5:14. And you, beloved, are light of the world. A city set on a hilltop cannot be hidden. Similarly, it'd be silly to light a lamp and put it under a bowl. When someone lights a lamp, she puts it on a table or a desk or a chair, and the light illuminates the entire house. You are like that illuminating light. Let your light shine everywhere you go, that you may illuminate creation. So men and women everywhere may see your good actions. Good actions. Beautiful speeches from cathedrals. Beautiful dissertations in books. No, your actions, like St. Mother Teresa, feeding poor, helping the homeless. Actions. Your good deeds, your good actions. All of this book is not just some theoretical nonsense that you read and study and say, well, I got a master's of divinity. I'm so smart. I know stuff. The transference of knowledge is not what it's all about. It's about action. People may see your actions, and may creation at its fullest, may see your devotion to me, and may turn and praise your Father in heaven because of it. Do not think I've come to overturn or do away with the law or the words of the prophets. To the contrary, I have come not to overturn them, but to fulfill them. This, beloved, is the truth. Until heaven and earth disappear, not one letter, not one pen stroke will disappear from the sacred law. For everything in the sacred law will be fulfilled and accomplished. Anyone who breaks the smallest, most obscure commandment, not to mention teaches others to do the same, will be called small or obscure in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you this, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven unless your righteousness goes deeper than the Pharisees, even more righteous than the most learned learner of the law. Righteousness is the reason Jesus has come, to make the people righteous through and through. He then begins to interpret the law of the Scripture for them with this in mind. Okay, so you have the Old Testament, right? The entirety of it. Don't kill, don't commit adultery, have no gods before me, honor thy father and mother, make no false witness. And there's quite a few commandments, right? 10 basic ones. Jesus said, I didn't come to destroy it, but to fulfill it. And he's like, if you teach those commandments and you do them, you'll be called great in God's kingdom. But if you break them and you teach others to break them, you'll be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Now, I'm going to interpret something here. Maybe I'm diving too deep. But he said if it doesn't exceed the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, and those people, the only thing they really did right was they tithed 1/10 of everything they had. Other than that, they made their prayers for a show. They went to the temple and sacrificed. They did it all for a show. They basically killed Jesus. They are the Sanhedrin that had the night kangaroo court and said, we're putting him to death because he says he's God's son. These are the guys, he said, your righteousness has to exceed them. Well, man, I don't go to the synagogue every Saturday or church every Sunday. I don't even tithe 10% of all my income like these guys did. I don't wear the robes like they did. I don't make the prayers like they did. But you know what? Jesus said they did it all for a show. Everything they did was an outward appearance. So now when you go and do your actions, if you go feed the poor like Mother Teresa, and you go to church and you pray, all of this, God looks at your heart's intention. Are you doing this as a show to become famous for people? Are you doing it because you genuinely love the poor? And Jesus is going to go into this. Did you go to church every Sunday to be seen by people and to get applauded by them? Look at how perfect that person is. And such a wonderful member, giving something to the poor and donating to the cash box. Matter of fact, we're going to make bricks with everybody's name on it who helped build this beautiful church. And everybody that walks in every Sunday can see your name on that brick. And the gold member club, we're going to make little bitty plates of gold and put them in the parishioner's office and on the vestibule when people come in. That's what we're going to do. So if your righteousness is just all outward, it's pretty much zero. I mean, you're going to do great things if you just physically do these things, but if your heart's not in the right place, it's pretty much for naught. So let's look at this. Here we go. Probably have to break this into two different messages. As you know, long ago, God instructed Moses to tell his people, don't murder. Those who murder will be judged. But here's an even harder truth. Anyone who's angry with his brother will be judged for his anger. Anyone who taunts his friend, who speaks contemptuously towards him, or calls him a loser, or a fool, or a scum, will have to answer to the high court. Anyone who calls his brother a fool may find himself in the dangers of hell. Therefore, if you bring an offering to God and remember that your brother's angry at you or holds a grudge against you, leave your gift on the altar, go to your brother, repent, forgive one another, be reconciled, then return to offer your gift to God. Okay, so here it is. Going to church, offering the sacrifice isn't enough. Not murdering isn't enough. Having anger in your heart. So this all, I've done messages before, and it's called taking it to a higher level. So it's the methods of the heart. Spirituality is really something of your heart. And really, who knows your heart? You and God. That's it. That's really it. So God's saying, if you're going to church on Sunday, you're all happy, zippity-doo-dah day, can't wait to tithe, can't wait to praise a song, give a testimony, but you got in a fight before you came to church. You and your wife are mad at each other. You and your spouse, you and your best friend are fighting it out. Go, leave your altar, leave the gift. And we know back then they offered lambs or doves or whatever, but your sacrifice of praise in today's day and age, or maybe your money or your time or just a gift, a song to God, don't go to God with anything until you've made peace with your friend, your enemy, your persons. So God and Jesus, I've gone over a little bit of his teachings. 5:1 through 23 is what we got through. And we'll pick it up and go through the rest later. Hope you enjoyed this teaching, and I really hope that you will see that this is not just words and speculations, things you can practice. So have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this message, and keep tuning in. I'm going to try to go through Matthew chapter 5 all the way through the rest of the Beatitudes so we can see what Jesus teaches, what he thinks. I know I talk a lot. It's a lot of words per minute. Go back through it, listen to it, enjoy it. And I've thought at times of doing PowerPoints where you don't even see me. You see the pictures up on the screen or something, because I can use PowerPoint and I have graphic design background. But above all, hopefully this goes into your soul and you get something good out of it. Do you want to know who Jesus is? Do you want to know what he taught? Because I got to tell you, there's cults out there that'll teach you the complete opposite of this. And if you only get your information from one source, and it's a bad source, just like in school, they're like, what's your source when you write this paper? You learned about the Mayflower. Where'd you get your source? Oh, I got it from the internet somewhere. Well, hold on. You got to go to the library and look at a book and maybe find an article of a person who was on the Mayflower who saw that the beams were made of this wood and what the cargo was it carried and how many people were on board and what time it left where and when it got there. So get your sources straight. Get it from the Bible if you want to know about it and learn about it and about God, because we're in a time in our society, like I said, when the moral compass is way out of whack. So you can get strength in your own life, get some resiliency, get some goodness from these teachings. And I really hope you'll tune in and you'll get something out of it and you'll learn. You can comment, not comment, whatever you want. And I kind of do these because I believe, there's a million things to make YouTube videos about. Hamsters running on bowls across the floor, funny cat videos. And I'm a comedian, man. I'm funny. I play guitar, I do all kinds of stuff. But I really need an outlet for teaching the Bible. Where someone could sit down with a cup of coffee that missed church and say, I'm going to get a little bit of a message about marriage or divorce or about what Jesus said. And they can sit here without any pressure and just get a message to get some encouragement. So have a great day, and I hope you tune in again. Take care.